G'day, guys, and welcome to the Supercoach Swordplay podcast, Season 5, Episode 7. You're on with me today, Janath. I'm joined by Rossco and Spillsy. Unfortunately, no DR today. He's he's not available tonight, but we'll make do. But boys, we'll crack straight into it. How we been? How's your weeks?
Yeah, not too bad. Everything's going well. St Kilda didn't go so well. Supercoach team didn't go very well at all. But I'm in good spirits, Nothing's going to break my stride. Nothing's going to take me down. And, as I'm sure you guys will tell me, the only way from here is up. I'm going to do a spills from a couple of weeks ago and declare that this is my lowest rank of the season. If I go any lower than this, I don't think I'll be on the potty in 2026. I'll be getting sacked. So,
one and done.
We're doing good. What about you, Spillsy?
Yeah, I'm going well, boys. What can I just say? Like, what a pleasure it is to be back on the podcast. I missed you boys last Tuesday. GDR, he's just a courageous man. It's good to see him pull through everything and him back to his best. So, yeah, we can't wait to have him return back onto the potty in no time. But yeah, been a good week for footy, boys. Obviously, had a bit of a spell. We had a bye weekend over Easter. Definitely needed it. I feel like the first 3 weeks to a month of football has absolutely cooked me. So it was nice to sort of kick my feet up over the weekend, watch a bit of footy, watch the Dons just get up ever so, not convincingly. It was a bit of a shambles to watch. I genuinely thought we were going to lose. It wouldn't be the first time we nearly lost to West Coast on the back of Ryan Marrick kicking a goal to put him in front with about a minute to go in the game. And then this happened to happen a couple of weeks after they got pumped by Sydney, like 200 points conceded. So, yeah, I've seen it before. The Dons, they tease me. But this week we've got Anzac Day, so it's a new week and there's no game you want to win more than this one. So should be good, boys, and great to be back onto the podcast. So, yeah, keen to get stuck into it.
Likewise, mate. It was a good week. Finally had a break from medicine. We were on our mid-sem break. Had my birthday on Saturday, which was good fun as well. And the Blues.
Yeah, happy birthday, man.
Thank you, mate. I'm bloody 25 now, so getting up there.
Ooh,
I think am I the oldest on the potty tonight? This is a bit scary.
No, mate, I'm 26 this year. Sorry, mate.
It's got me covered. Look, we got the youngins on tonight.
No, there's nothing to brag about here. You grave will poke out no time.
Good Friday. What a game. And I'll tell you what, Good Friday, Peel, just talking about Good Friday, we put our donation forward, $300. Thank you so much to everyone that bought a beanie and obviously made this donation to the Good Friday Appeal, something which was possible for us. So greatly appreciate everyone that's bought a beanie. And hopefully, if you haven't got yours yet, you can go to supercoachswordplay.com, grab yours. You can also grab one of those hot rugby jumpers that Spillsy is wearing.
What's the touch on that, boys? Yeah, so rugby tops have just come in and they're extremely great quality. Now, if you are purchasing a rugby top, please keep in mind that they're a little bit oversized than you think. So I fit pretty comfortably into a medium, but I've got a large and it's like a dress on me. It's huge, absolutely massive. So, yeah, I think Scobes did the same thing. I got it from him and he bought himself an extra large and it's huge on him. So I'll probably give him the large that I've got now and get my hands on a medium at some point. So, yeah, if you're buying one, keep that in mind. Get a size smaller than you actually are because they're extremely baggy. Other than that, though, just 10 out of 10 quality. I can't believe how good they've come out. I mean, the logo is just magnificent. It's embroidered really well. It just the colors pop out. It looks like a genuine football club rugby top, and that's what we're aiming for when I first sort of thought of the design, and I'm really happy with it. So, yeah. Absolute kudos to for how they've come up. So, yeah, if you haven't got one, awesome, winter's coming in. Make sure you get your hands on them.
We need to get our hands on them. That's it. And then, yes, special thank you to Speedy Tees as well for making, so from the back end, making the design, send it through to Speedy Tees.
Such a great job.
They put it through with the supplier. We get them in, and it's such a simple process. So if you have any sort of merchandise or clothing, apparel sort of needs, Speedy Tees is the way to go. Our proud sponsor here. Yep. The cash cow. Now, last week, the jackpot hit. $100 went to a special listener for the secret phrase, which was "Don't trade out your primos." So that was the phrase in the round 5 potty, since we didn't have a potty last week. This week, $50 to the first person that types the secret phrase in our Discord. We won't reveal exactly what it is, but I can guarantee that it will be said at least once in this podcast today. So keep your ears pricked up. And Rossco, I'll just hand it over to you very quickly, mate, to talk about our partners at Game Day Squad.
Yes. Now, in Game Day Squad, I'm actually getting a little bit better week by week. I finished 69th in the starter squad this week, which is not too bad. I want to be trying to crack the top 50 on a regular basis. But with the nature of how close that leaderboard is, it's only, 100 or so points to the top 10. So I'm really not that far away. I know a couple of failed selections sort of cost me. Toby Green had a real stinker, and Dane Zorko didn't go very well either. Also, missing out on Nick Dacos definitely hurts. He went massive last Thursday. So, correct those 3 things, and my team could have been easily up there for a top 10 spot in the starter squad. And if you want to join us, we're going to be pumping out lots of content. We had a meeting with the Game Day boys recently. Got some new ideas in. Keep your eyes peeled and use that code word peanut to receive $20 worth of free packs. They told us that plenty of you guys are getting behind it as well. So thank you all for your support on that, and hope you're enjoying the game.
And make sure that you verify as well. So
yeah, that's very important.
You guys win money. It helps us in our partnership as well. So make sure that you guys go through the verification process on your desktop computers. All right, well, let's crack into the Supercoach side of things then, boys. I don't know where to begin. Do we want to start with you, Rossco, mate? Get it out of the way. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Dropped another 6K spots this week, and I'm hanging on to my Supercoach season like the chicken jockey, hanging on for dear life. So I need a big turnaround. Jai Newcomb was a shining light with a lovely 138, but I couldn't nail the captain. Sheasel on Good Friday went awful. Zorko as my VC on Thursday went awful as well. Really disappointing. No Nick Dacos, and a lot of people managed to get on board and VC him, or just owning him was a real bonus. But look, I think I've still got boosts, I've still got trades, and my team value is somehow better than the teams that are ranked 6K and 7.5K on the pods. So hopefully it's a sign of better things to come, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Cool stuff, mate. And Spillsy?
Yeah, not too bad. So I think the best way to sum up my season is just good without being great. Like, I'm not too flat with how we're going, but nothing to really dance about either. It's just sort of just floating around that rank. Just nothing's really happening for me at the moment. I was going to bring in Dacos. He was in my trade plans last week, but I thought, look, there's not many rookies coming up this week, so I might sort of save me eggs over Easter. I banked a heap of cash. I banked nearly 400K this week, going 2 down, and I think it was still the right decision. It looks like we've got, like, Jimmy Tunstall's just popped out of nowhere. We'll talk about him. The rookies, they come and go, and even when at the worst of times, they still pop. So yeah, it's not curtains yet, but just really underwhelming. I mean, defense is just, Sheasel, Zorko, Clark, just sort of pretty stock standard. Roberts had a really good response game, which was good. But then the big L was fielding Trainer over Pryor. So, yeah, I've lost 90 points doing that. But it's a bit hard when you don't really have a loophole and you just can't nail it. Like, Pryor hasn't been the best of form, so it seemed like a safe bet considering most had Trainer on field. I guess a positive was the captain on Brayshaw for a 120, but looked like a much better game from him. But the midfield as a whole has been really solid. Who would have thought that Marek would be, I don't even want to say, like 2 or 3 times better than Humphrey, who I've really given a chance in my side. I cannot wait to pull the trigger on him. What has he done to me? He's literally he couldn't even pull a 50 against Richmond, who allegedly the worst side in the comp. And then they roll up to Marvel Stadium and absolutely butcher the Gold Coast Suns. Dimmer can't get it done at Marvel. Every single time. This is going to be like the Kennett curse. Gold Coast is going to go to Marvel and they're not going to win again. So it's just unbelievable. So that's a plot twist I didn't see coming. But yeah, other than that, fault line was just good without being great. I managed to bank Hewitt's 97 on field, so I kept Henderson as that loophole. So he's probably going to be my loophole moving forward now. So happy to hold him for that spot. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the side. I think I'm going to make some really good moves this week to get us back in the game. But it was a real defensive week. Just I could have really stamped my foot down and traded aggressively, and I would have had a better rank than I do now. But yeah, looking at the big picture here and saving your pennies for moves moving forward. So I think we're looking good. But yeah, just waiting for that run to start. But I think we're heading in the right direction.
Nah, good to hear, mate. With DR's side, he's got a 2216. Went up from outside the top, just inside the top 10K to around 6,100. Just looking at his side, VC Zorko. He got the Elijah Hewitt on field, just like yourself there, Spillsy. Captained Andy Brayshaw. I think what really separated sides this week was that lower end of the best 22. So, for instance, for me, Zach Reed was the score that dropped out for me because I was able to get Pry on field with Ben Patton as the loop. And so Zach Reed dropped down. Then my next lowest score was Riley by 79. Like, that's an ideal best 22 week. But, yeah, looking across DR's team, I think there's the big one that's missing. There's Nick Dacos. And just going over across to my team here, Nick Dacos didn't quite come in. And I think that's one that we'll be talking a lot about today. The moves I made was Mitch Nevitt and Bailey Humphrey to Jason Horn-Francis. So swallowed the pride there, brought him back in, and Caden Cleary. So 22.88. VC Tom DeConning just needed to VC someone on the Friday, given that Clay Hall was the only loop at the time that I knew was definitely going to be a loop with the Sydney team not named yet. And also Mitch Nevitt, I didn't even know if he was going to be in the Geelong side until 6:30 on the Sunday. Like, it was a farce as to how long that took for the teams to be revealed. But yeah, happy with the score there, 22.88, and into 2K now. So this was probably the best week I've had so far in Supercoach. But yeah, we'll see how the other teams go. And it's good promising signs that the teams can score quite well without anyone really having a really high ceiling. I guess Cherry scored well, Whitfield scored well, but no one else really set the world alight. Owning Nick Dacos, he could be a scary non-own in coming weeks. We'll have to talk about that going forward. Let's just have a look at the rankings now. So, Spillsy, you've gone down to third there, mate. Hopefully you can rectify that in the coming weeks. Come back up to the top of the pod. Rossco, you're coming. You can make it. It's a bit of a climb at the moment. 300
There's not much
points.
in it. Like, that's
There's
only
not much in it. There's not
just
much
under
in it. Only
300
450 points there. Yeah. But look, I think a lot of shrewd trading in the coming weeks during upgrade season, and then the buys. The buys is where the best coaches sort of stamp their foot and get ahead of the pack there. All right. Let's go straight into the hot topics then. I think the best place to start, as always, is with the injuries. And I've just sort of compiled what I believe to be the sort of most relevant injuries across the league here. We'll just go through them, ramifications either for themselves or for someone else. So Kadeen Coleman, 1 to 2 weeks. That could be something to monitor. For Dane Zorka, you'd imagine that Kadeen would probably go through the VFL before coming into the AFL side. But even then, he's just had a really trouble patch with this injury. So not sure if we'll get straight back in. Now, Rossco, I think you told me yesterday that Lockie Cowan was supposedly 4 to 6 weeks away, and now he's a test all of a sudden, which is...
Yeah, I'm not imagining that. Like, I definitely read that he was, I think it was like 4 to 6 weeks away.
And he's a test, so...
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there.
Against Collingwood 2 weeks ago, so this will be the third week now. If he plays, this will be really interesting for Matty Carroll because that was the like-for-like replacement there. Carlton play on the Sunday, so you'll probably have to make a move whether or not to go there by the Friday night matchups with Collingwood, Essendon sort of thing. So it could be tough. And I think a lot of coaches, we're going to talk a bit about Matty Carroll coming up. I really like him as a player, and I think that he has a future in this side. But I don't know if Lockie Cowan, I thought he'd get 4 to 6 weeks. Like, he'd get a 4 to 6 week stretch. But now with Cowan a test, Cowan will be part of the best 22. Who does he replace? That's the question we're going to have to answer. And in all honesty, it could be Ollie Hollands. He hasn't played very well off of halfback this year. I just don't think that we drop him straight up. He may go to a wing and then there may be some structural changes, but that's to be seen. Harry Mackay is a test with concussion. This should just, I put this one in given that Lewis Young played well on Friday, but this may also just help out the fact that TDK, he may not need to go as much forward as he did if Harry Mackay is in the side. Jai Caldwell 2 weeks away. Now, whilst Elijah Sardis did play well in the VFL, with Caldwell 2 weeks away, does that affect it? And Darcy Parish is TBC with the calf. Spillsy, I just don't think that
you put a line through him. He's gone.
You can't really rely on him going forward. Yeah. I guess Sammy Draper, the Achilles, so unfortunate in a contract year. Do you think this is the last time we see him in an Essendon jersey, Spillsy?
Oh, geez, playing a great case, and as far as contract years go, that he is playing some of the best footy. Yep. He's 6 goals straight from the infamous snap. So yeah, that's gonna attract a lot of offers. I really hope not. Hope he doesn't go back to Adelaide. But yeah, he's a great cog for our side, and yeah, it'd be an absolute spew if we lost him. I really hope it isn't, but yeah, I think he likes the Dons, so I'd be surprised if he made a move. That's for sure.
And then I guess on that same note, Todd Goldstein is probably the one that's going to have to step up now until the mid-season draft at least. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how he handles that one there. We saw Zach Reid went into the ruck a little bit to finish off that game. I don't see that lasting as a long-term move, especially with Reid's own injury history, but we'll see that. Luke Jackson 2 weeks away, so Shrek Darcy didn't look overly great against Melbourne. Whether Jackson comes in and sort of takes up a bit more ruck time when he does come in, that'll be interesting to see. Corey Wagner is a test with the calf. I was looking for Jordan Clark to sort of have a really spiked game against Melbourne on the weekend. Just couldn't get it done. Only scored he scored a 94. Wagner comes back in, a little bit more ball distribution. It's just one to watch there. Zach Fisher, a 1-week hamstring. I'm not so sure about this. I'm not sure if he gets back into the team because he's not a very good footballer. But hopefully, fingers crossed, this does mean that Harry Sheezel goes back into defense because with the role volatility we see with Sheezel, it just makes it a really, really tough watch at times. I put Noah Bolter in curfew as just sort of what is going on. What is going on with the AFL, honestly?
What part of the body is that?
Police.
Curfew injury.
Huh?
What part of the body is that? A curfew injury.
That's what I was laughing at. I saw hamstring and then curfew.
Curfew. So for those that don't know, I think he needs to be at home by 10 p.m. So he can't play night games and he can't travel interstate. So he's in a bit of a pickle there. This, from a Supercoach perspective, this should help out Luke Traynor. Now, Luke Traynor is one, when we talk about him, he's probably a long-term investment now, which isn't the best thing in the middle of upgrade season, but you either trade out Traynor this week or you hold him for 5 weeks. It was the same scenario that we had with Xavier Lindsay. You either get rid of him straight away or you hold him for that short-term pain, long-term gain sort of thing. He only needs one spike spot, and he did go back-to-back 80s, did Traynor. So possibly there is that chance, just hold him and ride it out. Mateus Filippo, 1 to 2 weeks away, Rossco. I think, would we be looking at him sort of as a cash cow possibly in the forward line in a couple of weeks? Or where do you see this pick going long term?
I think so. Obviously it's going to be a bit volatile because at that stage we're probably going to already have 4 or 5 players who we want to keep. Maybe it's one for the flex if you feel like taking the risk. But I believe he's not playing anything this weekend. Then next weekend he's going to play VFL, and then after that it's anyone's guess. So he's at least 2 weeks away for me, I think.
Okay, cool.
And then probably another 2 weeks for Supercoach terms as well.
Yeah, cool. Callum Mills is also 1 to 2 weeks away. Honestly, this is the week, I think, because if Callum Mills can get through this week, he'll actually debut this season. Otherwise, I know we were hyping up in preseason, but it's just a player that you just don't know. He's just going to get injured at any point in time, even though he has the spike in him. You can't trust his body. I think it's just one that we move on with, especially in the middle of upgrade season there. Tommy Papley at 4 to 6 weeks is good for, not him obviously, but for Caden Clear's job security. I think if we can get 6 weeks out of Cleary, he should make some good cash, even though he didn't score overly well on the weekend. Port Adelaide just got the jump and he just couldn't get into the game, but he still looked to be around the ball where we wanted to see him. Jeremy McGovern is a test with an adductor, so perhaps he could be out this week, further helping out Ryan Marriage. He's one that I certainly missed out on, went the Bailey Humphrey route, which is unfortunate, but he can't sort of nail everything there. Sam Darcy, when Rossco and I were talking on Sunday night, we were fearing the worst with that being an ACL, but it's so glad to hear that it's not one of those generational types. You just hate to see these players get injured, and fingers crossed that he has a speedy recovery there. And then finally, Adam Treloar, 1 to 2 weeks away. It's very interesting that the tags are now going to Ed Richards, even with Bont there. So I think on the weekend, Windy went to Richards and not the Bont. This week, when they play GWS, where does that Toby Bedford tag go? Does it go to Ed Richard? Does it go to the Bont? I don't know if the Bedford can go with the Bont, but we'll see also how the doggies line up with the Bont. Where does he play? Does he play key forward? Does he play in defence up in the midfield? We'll wait and see there. But those are the main injuries for this week, boys. With that, we'll go on to the rookie data dump. Now, Rossco, I've had to acquaint a couple of these faces with names for you, even though you're an avid watcher. Take us through the rookies that we're looking at this week and the ones to watch out for next week.
Yeah, look, I think there's 5 here that I've listed that are on the bubble this week, and there's only probably 2 of them who I would say, yes, trade them in. 1 who I would say you could consider it, but it's very risky, and the other 2 are just a straight out no. So we'll start with Matt Carroll. If he holds his spot, he's 99K, nice low break even, steady average. He's probably not going to do anything special. If we got an 80 out of him, that'd be lovely. But I think, he might just be our 60 guy that you could just depend upon in case you need him off the bench. Obviously, the big one is Matt Flynn, break even of minus 73, given he's 141 against Essendon. Now, seen a lot of sort of chatter about whether that was just because he was playing against Essendon with no ruckman. I've seen that he's got some big matchups coming up in his next few games. People are worried for him. I think we just have to get him in and take the risk. Like, I feel like, if everyone's on and he's averaging 114, jump on and try and steal as much cash as you can. If it doesn't work out, then pivot to somebody else. And the third one there is Corey Durden, small forward. Very unlike him to drop 2 scores in the 90s in a row. But he's got a break even of minus 66, which means if you're really desperate, you could go there. Probably not for me, but, another 90, a break even of minus 66. And, he's got another 3 weeks of decent scoring out of him. So that's the risk you would take. In terms of trades, as you said, boys, I think Bailey Humphrey, he is often gone out of our sides this week. We've seen enough. And I know I sprouted that he was playing against North, playing against Richmond. He's just done completely nothing. High break even.
Been useless.
Sucked in. All of us.
Time to go. Probably the same if you own Josh Sin. He actually dropped a fair bit in cash this week. I think he was at 295 or something last week, which means he has to go again with a break-even of 82. And I think Zane Dersma, Cooper Hines, both of them have been sub-affected. Probably a pass there. Now, one I didn't chuck in, as you mentioned before, Spillsy, James Tunstall, very nice score this week. But he has only played the 1 game. So he'll be in the full version of the rookie data dump on Third Man Up coming out tomorrow. And we'll just cover him as a watch for now because with a player in his position, he could easily score a 30 this week and you don't want to trade him in at all. Even though I'm pretty sure, boys, we've seen 7% of teams have already gone early on him. So I'm not too sure what you guys think about that.
That's pretty
gutsy.
gutsy.
Though, mate, is there anyone that we can be looking forward to next week when sort of forecasting? Okay, if we need to do a 1 up, 1 down next week, is it Tunstall or bust, or would you be almost looking at a Jonty Fall or Sam Marshall sub-affected game? Like, what other options? Oscar McDonald, like what other options do we have for next week? Really?
Yeah, that's the thing. It is very tricky, as you say. I think Jonty Fall's on the bubble this week.
Oh, yeah.
I just didn't like him. He obviously had that really stinky game. I think he got 14 in his first game. Then, as you say, those other three guys, they don't really jump out. So I don't know if this is a week where we go and jump on Flynn and Carroll and hope for the best and then go double up next week. A little bit of a spoiler for later is that I'm just planning on going the one down this week and banking the cash for next week. So I don't know how we'll go with the rookie stocks. A little birdie tells me that Hugh Boxall might be in line for a debut. He tore it up at Whitten Oval. I think he had 35 touches and a goal and like 10 tackles or something. So after we got pumped, surely there's a spot for him somewhere. Just play him, Ross. Come on.
And so I guess the trepidation that a lot of coaches may have with Matt Flynn may be regarding, well, he probably just pumped it up against the second stringer or like Zach Reed, that sort of thing. When looking back at the data, I was going through that game again. So if we break down the fantasy points by quarter, Flynn went 31 fantasy points in the first quarter, 21 in the second quarter, 20 in the third quarter, 25 in the fourth quarter. And by the time that Draper got injured, I think he was late third or early fourth quarter, he was on 99 Supercoach points already at 3/4 time. And so that spike of 42 in the last quarter, whilst yes, it's still an outlier, it's still more than what he would have scored if he divided the first 3 quarters up. But it still shows that Flynn was having a good game against Draper as well there. So now with Lloyd Meek this week, Max Gawn next week, surprisingly, Max Gawn hasn't been as restrictive to opposition ruckman, but we did see in round 1 playing against Jad Witts that Flynn was certainly out of his element. All I hope is that Flynn gets a good run of it now, because Williams didn't really do much. Bailey Williams, that is, whilst he was in the team, we saw that Flynn can score well. And yes, it is a risk because of the job security we've seen with these Eagles rookies, that it's a bit of a chooks lotto out there. But hopefully he gets the good run of things. So I think we're almost in consensus here, basically, of what you were saying, Rossco, that Flynn 1, Carroll 2, Durden if you need a flyer, and then Dersman Hines are just sort of out. Could you?
Yeah.
How about this way? If Sardell Hawley isn't the sub this week and he's playing on Anzac Day, do you bring him
in? Still no.
No? You just don't trust his job security. 127K, break even of 4. And the same with Tom Gross.
Well, I already own him, so there's not much I can do about that at the moment.
Yeah, stuck with him for now, Janath.
Yeah.
I
wouldn't bring him in, though, if you don't have him.
I didn't bring him in because I pivoted last minute, but look, I don't think that the Eagles midfield will change, and that sort of sends doom for Clay Hall, spells doom for Clay Hall as well. The other one, the reason why I don't think the Eagles midfield has changed, Elijah Hewitt. Now, with that 93 now, I traded him out a couple of weeks ago, but he will certainly be going up in price. 188.3K, I'd almost say he's a better buyer than Corey Durden this week, given the fact that he's got a better role sort of thing. And Hawthorn, Melbourne, Richmond, next 3, not the easiest, not the toughest, I'd say. He should make some good cash for you, Spillsy, and the other coaches that are on him / get on him. All right, boys, I'll put this one out to you then. I've got 6 players listed on this screen here. What is the common trait amongst them?
They're all extremely relevant. Low break even. Knocking on the door, must-haves. Some more than others.
Some more than others. Well, Spillsy, I'll handball it over to you, mate. Take us through some of these players, their pros, their cons, who you're looking to bring in, and if you had to rank them 1 through 6 of priority, how would you go? So for those audio listeners, very quickly, that's Nick Dacos, Petrarca, Whitfield, Cherry, Matt Rowell, and Maxi Holmes.
Yeah, so I'm putting Dacos at number 1. So one that I missed out on, obviously in my trade plans. He's by far the biggest must-have of the week. I mean, if you don't pick him, you're absolutely screwed. And yeah, he's had a few tag games where it's been a bit hard. Even gave James Jordan a bit of a bath. So yeah, there's no shying away from that. He's an absolute must-have. Christian Petrarca, a little bit of a hard one to justify. Great win by the D's on the weekend. Not as much of an influence as you would think. Now, I'm happy to wait on Petrarca until that price just gets a little bit smaller and smaller until he really sets the world on fire.
I think this is the
He's a
lowest I'll get him, mate.
very tricky one. Now, Whitfield is the most interesting in my opinion. So we know the form he's been in. Still a break even of 129 because of that absolute howler he had the other week. I'm just trying to get up his scores. It was
84.
at Norwood. It was like an 80-something, wasn't it?
86, yeah.
86. So you notice the trend here. He's playing at Energy, MCG, UTAS, NG again, Adelaide Oval, all massive scores. So going 111, 128, 109, 148, 145. The one howler, 86, was at Norwood, one of the smallest ovals in the competition. Now, he does have matchups, a good matchup this week. I'm pretty sure they're back at home, which is a great sign for Whitfield, but he's not going to go up too much in price of that high break even. And then within the next month, he's playing at Sydney and he's playing at Geelong. So I think George really alludes to this in his round reviews of why Whitfield isn't so much of a must-have because he does struggle on the smaller deck. So I'm actually happy to have him ranked a little bit lower in this list. And Cherry really setting the world on fire. He's been unbelievable in the last couple of weeks or so. I think previous week wasn't too bad either.
This week, yeah. 144.
He really bounced back, and I can't believe Kane Corn's comments. I always throw him on the bus because it's pretty controversial, but there is no way that Tristan Cherry was given a bath by TDK. Give me a spell. Like what? No, Cherry was just unbelievable. You get 144 Supercoach. That's not giving anyone a bath. So I think Cherry probably is he ahead of Nick just because of that R1 spot. I mean, he's not the sort of one. I probably have him at 2.
Like he was over the hamstring, didn't he?
Didn't he?
Like
He
didn't look
he
like
tore
the
it up.
hamstring
And
bothered him, yeah.
Matt Rowell's in career best form. Very personal with Matty Rowell. He hurt me last year. It was a very hard watch. But what I've noticed immensely is the improvement of his outside game. It's been terrific, and he's really put it together. So I like him as an option as well. But at the moment, not for me. But that's completely biased and personal. So take that with a grain of salt. And Max Holmes didn't do a whole lot on the weekend. So he's another one where you just sort of you wait for him to go down a little bit. So I'm having Nick at 1. I'm having Cherry at 2. I'll probably still put Lockie Whitfield at 3 because he does have a good matchup this week, but just be mindful of these next 2 games, the next few weeks that he does have on the road. That could affect him being a small deck. It does bother him. There's no doubt about that. And then Matty Rowell's a nice pod. And then, Petrarca and Holmes, I think I have them neck and neck just where they're priced. Maybe Holmes a little bit ahead. With what he's done, averages, I think Jordan said he averages over 120 when he's not getting tagged. Didn't watch the game much. I don't know if Finn went to him or not, but he's another one where you just wait for him to drop his lowest price. So that'd be my ranking, boys. I don't know if you have any other
I don't think
takes or opinions on that.
The weekend. Yeah. I don't. Rossco, what would you change?
I'm going to be honest. This is probably a good sign for everyone, given with how I'm going this season. But I don't like the Petrarca pick at all. I know he's a forward. You might just have to pick him because he could be top 6. But I just, in terms of a footy perspective, regardless of whatever he's putting up, he's averaging 89.7. He's got a 3-round average of 94. I don't know. He just doesn't look right to me. Like he's throwing the mouth guard around. He's spitting the dummy. Is he checked out or is he just really passionate about how the team's going?
No, he don't want to be there, mate. He doesn't want to be there. You can tell his body language is key.
I'm starting to notice the same thing with Clayton Oliver. I thought he would be a good pick back to his best, but he just hasn't really delivered for us. But he's also in that zone where you've got to make that brave call to pick the right premium to upgrade him to. Otherwise, it's more or less the same, but you've lost 100K in value. I just fear that Petrarca could be exactly the same. We end up picking him and, he has a couple of bad rounds in a row. People want to get rid of him, but then, you're trading a premium, So that's probably my one change. I'd probably have him, nice and low as well. Probably 6.
Wow. This is where I think maybe I'm an optimistic Petrarca owner, but these 2 matchups coming up are the ones that I was wanting to target. Richmond at home, West Coast at Optus Stadium. The 2 best matchups for inside midfielders, apart from Melbourne, that is. He had 82% CBAs on the weekend. Now, yes, he didn't. The score wasn't there, but the stats were 25 touches, 5 marks, 5 tackles, just the 1 goal. I think that this is the cheapest we're going to get Petrarca for a couple of weeks. And
Richmond are not bad though. They're not. You can't take them lightly.
Matty Rowell scored 130. Anderson went over the ton. Took went over the ton.
For mids, yeah.
They're giving up points. And I think with Petrarca, if I was to rank these, I'd go Dacos 1, Cherry 2, Rowell 3, Petrarca 4, and then Whitfield you can go get cheaper, like you were saying, Spillsy.
That is low for Whitfield. That is more than expecting that.
But look, I think Rowell, a lot of teams at the moment don't have midfielders they can rely on. Rowell's worst game came at the perfect time because he went the early season 137, 136, then he had that 74, and it sort of stunted his ability to go up in cash. Like you wouldn't have a bloke. He's gone 126, 130 since. So he's had 4 scores above 125, and because of that 74, he's still priced at the same price he was to start the season at 558k. Like that is awesome buying. And similarly, Petrarca is awesome buying at 482. If you can only do a 1 up, 1 down, you can't get to Dacos. You can get rid of Humphrey and whoever, and you can get Petrarca and a rookie, or Petrarca and FLYNN, I'd do it. Because I think Richmond and West Coast, these are two plus matchups for him. Like it'll be interesting to see, but all the data points towards Petrarca having 2 big games here. Boys, do we have anything else that we want to add on these things?
About Truck, but I think he can do it.
It's a worry.
If you're that confident he's going to have a good game against Richmond, do you VC him?
Well, the thing is I own him, so I don't need to double down on it to VC him. But it's like having him and him scoring 120 is beneficial because of like how you guys are viewing Petrarca. If that's the way you obviously won't bring him in. So I'm already one step ahead of those kinds of coaches that don't bring him in if he does go 120. But if what you guys are saying is right, he's checked out, he won't perform, like he's been a soft track bully in the past. But if he's no longer soft track bully, he's just like whatever sort of thing, and he scores 100, and I've lost my VC, it's not really beneficial there. When we talk about captains, I think there's like same with Clayton Oliver. In years gone by, if Clayton Oliver's playing Richmond on Thursday night, that's the easiest VC in the world. But you just don't have as much confidence in him this year to get that ceiling score, as sort of thing. Like we saw that ceiling against North Melbourne 130, but he hasn't gone up the ton since. Like both of these boys are, you could say, out of form. You could say are symptomatic of Melbourne's form. But I think these two are good matchups to see. At the end of round 8, let's put it this way. We can tell whether or not Melbourne has thrown in the towel, and 2, whether Petrarca and Oliver have thrown in the Supercoach towel as well. It'll be pretty eye-opening for us these next 2 rounds. All right, boys, I've got these next 5 here as sort of fallen primers that we can look to pick off in the next couple of weeks. So when we look through this, Jack Sinclair's a big one. Personally, one that I'm eyeing off big time, was priced at 641k. That 70 came at the perfect time. Now, if he scores 132 and 119 in the next 2 weeks, he'll drop to 570k. And those are pretty high projections as well. If he can go 110, a 550k Jack Sinclair is mint. So that's one that I'm definitely looking out for. Dane Zorko, the Magnificent. Now, this is another interesting one. 139, 136, 135 to start the season. Balloons out to 620. And he's dropped 75k since. He's got a break even of 171. And he could drop all the way down to 510k by the end of next week. That could be with a ton as well. That Ridiculous. Could be immense buying. But then again, the Kadeen Coleman fact is just hanging around there. Interesting. Tommy Stewart, Supercoach Gold of years gone by, but he just doesn't look right. He could be as low as 400k, or we'll be generous to him, 420k in a couple of weeks, depending on how he goes this week against Carlton. Really interesting watch. I'm not sure if the role is there anymore. Zach Guthrie looks to be a bit more off that intercepting type along with Lawson Humphreys there. It may not be Tom Stewart's backline no longer, divide and conquer sort of thing. One to watch out for. Saki Merritt, I think that's one that some coaches got on last week ahead of the West Coast matchup. Only 106, but now he has Collingwood, North, and a possible James Jordan tag against Sydney. So where do we see this pick going? Could we get him at that 580 marker, which would be really good buying for your skipper, the best bloke in the AFL, supposedly, Spillsy. And finally, Josh Dunkley. Again, much like Lockie Neal, been another flop since that really, not Lockie Neal, but similar to some of these types that have that spike score early. 173. He's gone above the ton 3 times since, but the last two are 88 and 83. 157 break even. You could get Josh Dunkley at 525k next week. That would be ridiculously good buying for a top 8 mid from last year. So those are sort of the 5 players that, like, I've got Dunkley, but the other 4 I'm sort of looking at trying to pick off in the next couple of weeks. Boys, do you have any other players that you would be looking at as sort of fallen premiums, forecasting ahead as good coaches should do?
They're the main ones, I think.
Yeah.
I thought it's funny with Dunkley. I think about the obscene amount of sides that sideways traded Dunkley in for Lockie Neal. Are you kidding me? Like, Neal's just punched out 113. It's like good without being great, but this is why you don't sideways your primos, because stuff like this happens. They're all going to have their good and bad days. So, like Sinclair, I think he's an absolute must-have. I've got him at the moment. I'd have him still D1. Just had a down game, but
just had a bad game
for that. That's good for us. So you don't own him, you can grab him at a very fair and reasonable price. And Zorko, I'm not too worried about. So he gave away a lot of free kicks on the weekend, a really bad 50 as well. Didn't do him any favours. Didn't see a whole lot of the game, but this is all from what DR told me when I spoke to him about it. So it just wasn't his finest performance. I think Stewart's sort of done. He's one I'm not even considering at any point in time, regardless of the price. I just don't think he's anywhere near. Like, what are you paying for? Like is a sort of Oliver selection? Is he going to be serviceable? Is he going to make enough money? Is there enough meat on the bones? I don't know. And Merritt, I really want to see if I can grab him after this Jordan tag. I know it's a tough one, but there's just other options that I want. I mean, I'm not tempted to actually get Oliver up to Butters. I know it sounds ridiculous because they were Richmond, but it can be done with all the money that I banked from last week. So, yeah, playing a way up. But, yeah, it looks like we're going to get a lot of value in the next couple of weeks in terms of fallen primos, and it's coming at a great time because rookies are few and far between. So, yeah, going to be really exciting.
The other one as well, Rossco, just before you put yours in, Jordan Dawson, 525k, had that bad score of 60 a couple of weeks ago against Geelong. Ross, you're shaking your head. He's not happy. You could get Dawson at 505k next week, around 500k if he goes about the 90, 100 marker. You're not a fan, Ross?
It's a painful watch. I was going to go through some of these players as well. We'll start with Dawson. It's a painful watch watching him. I've never seen a player who is the captain of the club, gets paid to extract the ball from the midfield, his lethal left boot, and he can't kick. This boy cannot kick a football. He's gone at 30%. In gather round, I VC'd him for his 60. Thinking big game, Adelaide crowd against Geelong, pretty decent matchup for mids. He kicked the ball at 30%, and then again on the weekend, he managed to salvage himself around the ground, but he still kicked at 40%, and I just don't know what he's doing. I suppose you could flip that and say, well, if he starts to really hit his targets, then, you know, it could set him up for some huge ones. But at the moment, I don't know what's going on. But he's just not using the ball very well, and it makes it very frustrating to watch as an owner.
You're not banking that VC, mate. You're not taking the 60 from Dawson on Thursday night?
No.
Roll it.
Now, I'll go on again.
Was a better VC that week.
Yeah, I'll go on again with my VC from Thursday night, Dane Zorko, another favourite. I don't know if I agree with what DR is saying. He was very undisciplined, but he didn't look very hungry at all. I haven't checked the split on DFS. I don't know if, Janath, you could check it out for me now for kick-ins. But on the eye test, I was sort of sitting at home screaming, go Zorko, get the ball. And I feel like Darcy Wilmot took more kick-ins than him.
It was 3 across the board for Zorko, Wilmot, and Fletcher. So there's 9 in total. They all took 3 each.
So why Wilmot and Fletcher taking the kick-ins if Dane Zorko is your man? That scares me a little bit.
How about the turnover?
DR real quickly? This is what DR would say right now because he said this to me. But Zorko gets a lot of his points from those straight through the corridor, high-risk, high-reward kicks. Because he's such a good kick. They always nail. But didn't see a whole lot of that from him. A lot of sideways kicks.
The corridor. They were shown on First Crack the other night that Collingwood specifically played the game that they couldn't take the corridor option, which is something to consider when Collingwood plays other teams as well that have good designated kickers, that you may not see those ceiling scores because this corridor is just clogged up.
It's a tough matchup, and Matty Roberts struggled with it too when he played him last week. So, yeah.
And they absolutely neutralised Zach Fisher last year.
Oh, Zach Fisher.
It was good for us, mate. We love him.
Yeah, no. But anyway, continuing on, I do agree with what you said, Spillsy. I think Stewart's not really a consideration for me either. Merritt and Dunkley, probably a matter of yes, but at what point? But I think Sinclair, as you say, is the one. We've got a really nice run coming up after this week. I think we play like Freo, Gold Coast, Carlton, Melbourne, West Coast Eagles or something like that. And 4 of those games are in Melbourne, which I think is a real positive for Sinclair and Wanganeen Miller. The one I wanted to chuck in, it's a little bit of a toot in my own horn, is Jai Newcomb. I know he's not really falling. He's actually probably going to rise a bit this week. He's got a break-even of 87. 550K, but they play the Eagles, the Tigers, and the D's in their next 3. And he went 138 against Geelong. No tag on him. I don't know if anyone from those 3 teams will tag him either. Could be a good little punt up until the bye. For me, I'll probably hold him for the year. But, it could be one to capitalise on some really cheap points if he can go 140s again for the next 3 weeks against those soft matchups.
Yeah. Awesome. I guess the other 2 boys, which sort of feel like the elephants in the room here because they've just recently come back. And I just want a very quick discussion on whether or not you break the bank to bring these boys in. Marcus Bontempelli, 159, straight away. Didn't look like he missed a beat. And Zach Butters, first 3 games, 107, 135, 164. So in the short term, they're probably only going up in cash. Like, you can't really see them dropping. But do you break the bank? Like, is there a world where I think my world at the end of this week will be an antipoding, well, not antipoding, but not owning Dacos, Bont, and Butters. It feels like a very, very hard watch. But it's like, do you completely overhaul your team structure to bring either Bont or Butters and to a lesser extent Dacos in?
Can I answer this one?
Go on, Spillsy.
I am going to say no. So I think value is such a big deal in Supercoach, and it's hard to watch. There's a world where I can get rid of Trainer, Oliver, and Humphrey, and then grab Carroll, and then Dacos and Butters in the one trade if you don't mind. I'm not doing it. And I've still got 90K in the bank if I do that. Yeah. But I don't see any value whatsoever, and it means I'd rather pick a FLYNN, who I know is going to make some serious bank in a world where rookies are just hard to come by. We thought we had a good one with Cleary. What does he do? He didn't even get subbed. I mean, he just shut the bed. He was handball happy. It just looked rattled. So I really don't feel confident paying up a whole lot for 650K. They're going to get tagged eventually. Probably not Bont, but you do see those like low 100 scores from Bont. And I think there's a world where he can drop to. That's all it takes. I think you can get to anywhere from 600 to 620K at some point, and you just got to wait. And I think you want to get rookies off the field. You want to upgrade. I think you buy flip Oliver or a Chera if he loses form. They're the sort of guys, of Roberts, even if you got them, they're the ones where, look, they're not keepers. They're not top 8. They're not top 6. You just stick them out until they buy, and then you buy flip because, I just can't justify. It feels very sidewaysy and, paying up for premiums. It never works, honestly. There's going to be a day where, sorry, Rossco, look at Jack Sinclair. There's people throwing nearly 650K at him, and now we're just talking about how he could be 550K within a matter of a month. So it's funny how the tables turn. So it's a hard watch,
And
but I think stick it out.
do you know the winner last year, Joven, when he was going through why he won, he was saying so adamantly that the reason why he won is because he didn't pay up top dollar for Luke Ryan and Caleb Strong when they were going gangbusters, and you felt like if you didn't have them, you're going to lose 50 points to their replacement on field. But not paying up 650k, 670k for these blokes means that you can balance the squad out a little bit. And then if you have the luxury of upgrading to some of these big boys at the end, yes, you probably lose your points in the short term, but that value long term is what you're looking at. And I think that may be the way to go. So, yeah, I think I'm in the same boat as you, Spills, in that Bont and Butters, I wouldn't break the bank to bring them in. And like Dacos is probably the best buy off the three this week in terms of value. But yeah, you're probably going to want them all at some point, whether that's before the buy, after the buy, and even they have the earliest buy as well. So if you can bring in one of them after their round 12 buy, going into round 13, you're laughing. Like, that's perfect. That's exactly what you would want to do there. So that's just my take on things. Rossco, do you have anything you want to add there?
No, look, hopefully everyone should still have a boost by then. Get your 4 trades, and, that should really unlock the keys to some sort of really big moves. If you could grab one of them after their buy, using a boost, 4 trades, it really gives you some flexibility to swing your team around a little bit and balance it out. So I definitely agree with you that is a good move.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's what I'm saving for too, mate.
Boys, we'll jump on then into the mailbag. So let's crack on through these. I wonder how many questions we got. 44 questions. We'll fly through these. Okay,
Speed run, boys.
We always get a lot of questions. Everyone loves this Supercoach Swordplay mailbag.
And we love your support as well. So thank you for always sending in the questions.
We do love your support. We wouldn't have a mailbag segment if it wasn't for your support there. So let's start off with the legend, Causa, the ladies' man, Blackledge. Want to use my second boost this week, legends. Have 9.9k in the bank. Unsure what to do. Want FLYNN for a rookie. Okay, so if we bring up his team there, that midfield bench is very scary. I will say there is a severe lack of cash there, Causa. All right, if we just have a look around the team. Oh,
Patton as well.
Yeah.
Stone.
Well, what I would look to do, I'm just having to think. Because ideally you'd want another DPP rookie here. And whether that's a Jimmy Tunstall next week, but you'd have to wait a week there. If you're looking to boost here, Causa, I would probably look to trade out like a Clay Hall. Clay Hall can go, Trainer can go to FLYNN, and then Hall can go to Carroll. And automatically you can move Reed up, you can put FLYNN the flex, and you can maneuver Sheasel, that sort of thing with DPP, and you can get Carroll, into Trainer's position up there. With DPP, that's what I mean.
Right,
Paco to the midfield bench, Patton to the forward bench with that DPP swing, and you'll have at least a plain rookie on each line. That's the way I'd probably look to do it. Ross, Spillsy, would you change anything?
No, that's
2 trades.
Like what you said, man. That's a good idea.
Probably don't need a boost, I'd say.
There is maybe that slight consideration that you could move Clary. I don't know if it's the biggest issue though. With 3 non-playing mid rookies. I think that would be one thing that you could consider if you wanted to, go up significantly. You could go Clary, but I do like the balance of, it's got pretty decent players across the lines on field. I think the ones that you don't really want are probably Pryor and Cleary on field all the time. But other than that, it should be pretty steady.
92.
That's the best. He's been terrible on field for me, so I'll cop that. He scores well when I put him on the pine.
Hello, gents. Great to see you back firing all cylinders. think I'm DR, but that's okay, Kata. Look at using my second boost with the lack of rookie screen. Pick me. Thoughts on these trades? So Carroll, Ned Long, Matty Flynn for trainer Marias Henderson. Roscoe, we were
Yeah, I
having
like
this
it.
chat earlier today. That is it too late to go Ned Long? Like, does he have 100K in him from here on out? He's got the
Well,
role. Does he have the money?
just to spoil the mailbag a little bit, I reckon there might be another 3 or 4 people that have asked us this same question. I don't know. It depends on your team structure. For me, I'm sort of struggling a bit. I don't really think I can risk bringing him in, although he seems to not be the sub. I don't think Degoe's playing, is he?
He came back in this week.
Oh, he did. Okay, and he still dropped a 96. That's probably good for Ned Long then.
He's playing as the second midfielder behind Dacos. Actually, it's like
Yeah,
really
in a
good
move like that, I think yes, you could probably get away with it because it takes rookies off the field. But like for me, I wouldn't be downgrading anyone to get him specifically.
Yeah.
I still think that FLYNN Sanity is a better option.
FLYNN Sanity. Oh,
I like it.
cool. I like it, mate. All right, we'll move on then to Andrew's question. Andrew Bracek. G'day, legends. G'day, mate. Thoughts on Nick Martin? So his heat map, if you've had a look at it, I don't know if I can. What I will do actually is I'll just reply to the comment here with this is Nick Martin's heat map on the weekend. He was playing bloody everywhere.
That's as everywhere as you can see as any other midfielder in the comp. It doesn't get more.
He's playing
versatile.
everywhere. So defense is to the left of this and forward is that way. So back-to-back tons seems to have the role. I think he always plays well against West Coast because West Coast didn't pick him. But he's currently double upgrading, getting him allows to get Dacos in the midfield. Currently, Dacos Martin in for trainer Humphrey. I think that's easy. Easy, go ahead with that. The thing with Martin is he's probably going to be a top 6 forward. It's just where does he fit into that top 6 mix because he's clearly Essendon's second best player after Zach Merritt. So he should get enough of the pill wherever he plays. You won't see him get stuck at half forward and not get involved in the game because he's that good of a player in that way. Do you boys agree with this trade?
Yes.
Cool. All right, I'll tick that one off. Matty. Hey, legends, I used my third trade on Saturday after being too stubborn to trade Davidson, Robertson, Joe Berry, to Dacos, Clear, and Gross. I don't think you're too stubborn there, mate. Well, Davidson scored an 80. Robert scored 119. Yes, Joe Berry. I'm not sure what you ended up doing. I ended up bringing in Gorn plus the other 2. So he didn't bring in Dacos. Gotcha. So he still brought in Gross there. My rank, unfortunately, dropped 21K. I have the funds to get Dacos this week. Do I? Yes, but I just want to. I know that Dacos and tags are now don't go in the same sentence anymore. But 54 break even, you either bring him in this week or you have to wait 4 weeks, and that's what I'm sort of toying up here, because he's got Essendon, he's got Geelong. Now Geelong have Atkins there, like he can be like a glove sometimes on some players, and Essendon have touted the fact that they will look to have multiple players going with Dacos, but he's just that good of a player that it'll burn them off, as we saw with James Jordan. In Matty's position, do you boys bring in Dacos?
Yeah.
I think you have to. Worst antipod in history.
That's it, mate. All right, Engo, g'day, legends. Would you trade Oliver to Dacos if it's the only way to bring in Nicky D? I want to say no. Oh, so you got 2 yeses. You got Rossco and Spillsy saying yes. I'm going to say no just because I think I have too much optimism about this Richmond and West Coast back-to-back here.
It's not the wake for it, but
if it's the only way, maybe. But Engo, look, I think this will be a decision that a lot of coaches will have to make this week. I personally lean no. I think that the trade will be valuable because Clary, yes, he didn't look great, but he did finish the game well. His just kick to handball ratio is just awful at the moment. He started the season with 10 kicks, 15 handballs, 16 kicks, 20, 13, 18, 14, 6. But his last 2 weeks have been 6 kicks, 18 handballs, and 5 kicks, 20 handballs. If he gets his foot healed this week, I think he'll score quite well, mate. Jimmy, I've held both Xavier Lindsay and Finn O'Sullivan, who are now treading water on the bench. Who would you trade first of the two? I'd go Finn.
False.
Finn O'Sullivan, Rossco, you were shown in the rookie dad dump. I think his break even's now above his average, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me just quickly have a look for you.
Yeah, be close. I think just cut your losses with Foss. He's not really relevant at all.
But
Very low ownership.
Lindsay should regenerate that cash. He's got Richmond and West Coast. Even with projected scores of 55 in the next 2 weeks, he should still go up another 40K. Whereas Foss, I think, is just dead wood at the moment in the North Melbourne.
His projection is only 30. His break-even, is only 36. But he did
average.
He did only score 28, and he's only averaging 46. So
so it's not looking very good there, Jimmy. So we'd probably go Finn O'Sullivan out first. More. Would you jump from Jack Henderson and Elijah Hewitt? Be a fair play to get some cash and going. Yeah, I like it. Hewitt's good. The only issue is the injury concerns.
Does it have to be Henderson, though? Can you use Henderson as a loop and maybe jump off someone who's got a bit more money on their head, like a Clay Hall or like even a Kako, like someone who's like pushing 200K? Like, I feel it's not even a sideways. You're actually paying up for Hewitt on this one.
Yeah,
Henderson's good loop.
Though, is like, I don't know what Melbourne's loop fixture looks like, but this week, for instance, you can't use Henderson in a loop anyway because they play
not
first
this
game
week, no.
But if you got Clay Hall, I would prefer to get rid of Henderson over Hall. Oh, he's got the DPP as well, does Henderson, doesn't he?
That's what I mean. It's so handy.
Tough one. It depends on the looping fixture because I know West Coast is a good looping fixture. So if it's like a Clay Hall, you could almost hold him as your loop on the midfield bench. Whereas Henderson, I don't recall what their fixture schedule looks like. But yeah, I'd do it. Rossco, would you do it?
Yeah, I think so. I think Henderson might be dead in the water as well, which
I don't think he gets back into the side.
Yeah.
Like you saw them drop Fritsch and Van Rooyen because they're underperforming. Henderson was awful, like in the last couple of weeks when he was in the side. Yeah.
See, Melbourne play 3 Sunday games in a row from like round 10 to 12. 4. You got the last game in round 13 as well. Yeah, Henderson. Another one. He's got 5 Sunday, Monday games in a row. So
that's good.
Great loophole.
That's good. Yeah. Awesome. So we got 2-1 there, Maury. Rossco and I say do it. Spillsy's a bit more has a bit more.
You don't have to listen to me, mate. I'm just chatting. He could be a good loophole. That's just what I reckon. I think I'm using him as that anyway.
G'day, mate. G'day, lads. Hope you're all doing well. Sending love to you, mate. Good to see you back, DR. What is the priority this week? Dacos or Flynn? And is Cowan being a test bad news for Carol? Cheers. In terms of priority, is it weird to say that it's Flynn for cash gen if you don't have cash gen?
Yeah.
But Dacos is the safe pick. Obviously, safe as houses. You know what you're going to get from him. Flynn is a bit more of a monopoly. You could get whatever. He's like a Happy Meal. You don't know what toy you're going to get. Like he could be rubbish, but he could be the player that you look back on is like he made 150K in 3 weeks. Like that's when we think back to Kieran Briggs a couple of years ago. It's very similar, but Briggsy didn't have the job security concerns. What do you think there, Spillsy? Who's the bigger priority?
They're both just as big as each other in different ways. I think Dacos is, I said before, I think he's the worst antipod I can think of in years. Do you really want to go without him this week? I mean, he's going to be like over 75% owned for sure in the top 5%. And then you've got Flynn who, he's already got a good score in his system from just before he got dropped. So he's actually on the bubble. So it's now or never. I think they're both must-haves.
Yeah. And then with regards to Cowan being a test, I think it is bad news for Carroll, unfortunately, because the defensive back 6, when you look at it, Weathering's a lock. McGovern is like, they're not going to move him out from there. Haynes is a lock. Sard's a lock. And then you really get down to those peripheral pieces with regards to Hollands and sort of Matty Carroll as well there. I don't know. I think that it's going to come down to those two. The axe won't be swung necessarily this week, but it may happen after the Geelong game, which is what the next question from Supercoach HQ comes in here. Beggars can't be choosers, though, because I think that Carroll is still the best non-FLYNN sanity sort of option for this week. So if you need to get in a rookie, Carroll's probably the one there. Green Eggs and Hem. Would you sideways an underperforming primo like Zorko to get in Dacos? If not, do you bank the cash to get him Bonto Butters next week instead of splashing on Bailey Smith, Rosie Heaney type this week? You're not going to bring in Dacos next week, I don't think, because the break even is 54 now. It's this week or never. But do you trade out Zorko to get him in? This could be like a season-defining move. What do you boys think?
Where's he ranked?
Not sure.
Depends where you're ranked. If you're outside the top
rank?
5K,
Yeah.
10K, I'd do it just to get yourself back in it. High risk, high reward. But if you're sitting pretty comfortably there, top, anywhere under the 5%, I probably would play a little bit more conservative. That's just me, but I do like it. I mean, it can work.
Yeah. Rossco?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's just an analogy, but Bailey Smith, I don't know if he's still one that like we should be prioritizing to still get in if you don't own him already. Like he's not having Bailey Smith at this stage worse than not having Dacos.
It's interesting because I almost agree with you because Smith was on 68 at halftime or something close like that. He was going gangbusters. And then that second half, I don't know, just couldn't get near it. But he looks awesome. He's covering the ground so well, almost like Nick Dacos in a way. I wouldn't do Zorko to Dacos. I think Zorko's still going to be a top 6 defender from here out. It's a sideways trade. You're not getting a rookie off the field, that sort of thing. Boys, do you want to add anything?
No, as much as I didn't like Zorko, I'm not trading him for Dacos.
Nah.
Yeah.
No.
Awesome. All right. Hey, boys. Firstly, wishing you a speedy recovery, DR. Hope you're on the mend, mate. This would be my third boost, but I'm pretty desperate. It's FLYNN must have. These is the easiest smash trades if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
Trainer Moraes Kako to Carol FLYNN and Nick Dacos. That is brilliant. That is brilliant. Spillsy, do you have any reservation? How much cash were you just holding?
I reckon he's traded probably Roberts or Oliver or something. Probably banked like 500K.
Oh, yeah. A lot of money in the bank from last week. Awesome. Hey, gentlemen, like every week, every year, I'm gonna bring in Cozzy Pickett. Convince me, please, not to do so. 68% CBAs look so good, easy fixture. I don't think I need to convince you, Crazy Frogs, because you know what the end outcome of bringing Cozzy Pickett is every year is. But it still comes back. It's like the Simpsons meme where they just keep coming back in.
He's always going to play good in his job interview game too. So it's a resume game.
In his job interview game. That's good.
When he goes to the Dockers next year, he's put his hand up. Yeah, boys, take me on. Throw all the money in the world at me. Throw a 5-year contract. I'll look after you. He dominated, but watch him score
next year.
34 next week after a 134.
This is what and the thing is, you get sucked in by the matchups. Richmond and North Melbourne. He's like, West Coast against score 150, he'll score 30. Like that's Cozzy.
Said that about Humphrey. We're like, yeah, he's got North and Richmond. Done nothing. It's two of his worst scores of the year. So
for an extra 50K, you can get Petrarca. Just go there instead. I think
I'd do that. Yeah. Does he have the money? That's the question. But yeah, I'd do the same thing there. Try to get Petrarca. Abs. Hey, legend. How do you gents have the popular defensive primos ranked as trade targets this week? So we talked about this a little bit. Whitfield, Naz, Clark, Holmes, Amon, Stewart. Amon is coming off 150. Naz has been super consistent. Clark has been underwhelming to a degree. Holmes is the
very
one that I think you want to get on.
94 is his worst score for the year.
Yes, he's been solid, but he hasn't been 110. He's gone 107, 104, 101, 104, 94, except for the 122 is the good score there. Look, I would put Holmes first. I know Holmes probably has the best role and is the most value for money of these guys. I know Stewart is 442K, but at this point, he's either injured or you can't trust what his role is going to be. And then boys,
taggable though as well on the flip side of that. So that's where it's a little bit tough.
Yeah. he just scores from so many avenues. They look for him. Him and Smith, when you watch the games against Hawthorn, those were the two boys that you look, the defenders try to link up with the forwards through them, Holmes and Smith. So they're trying to look for those two players at all times, basically. Ross, Wangani Malera, where does he fit into this?
Well, I think he's actually shown a bit of an improved ceiling this year. I believe he's averaging around 112 at the moment. Still, everyone always seems to have their doubts about whether to get him in or not. Even though he's playing well. Look, I think personally for me, as a fan of football, I think he's really stepped up this year. It's got nothing to do with him, being on the verge of signing, free agent, whatever. But I think in terms of his actual body, his footy ability, he's always had that. But now his body's really coming along with him. His running capacity is getting much more suited to AFL. I wouldn't hesitate to bring him in. It may not be the best value option, as you guys say. But, I think you pick him and you probably know what you're going to get. He might fluctuate between that 600, 500K mark all year. I don't know whether it translates to top 6 or top 8, but you know what you're going to get.
Would you? So if you're ranking these guys, I think Holmes 1, Whitfield at the price, and those things about the smaller ground is where it's sort of a little bit trippy as to which way to go. I'd almost go Whitfield, Holmes, Clark because of the value, Wangani Malera, Whitfield, Stewart, Amon. I just don't trust Amon. Amon's his role is good, but he just hasn't proven it before. The other guys, I know what's at least something to expect there.
Yeah. Now I'm considering, I've just had a look. You said 150. I've just had a look at the fixtures and it's tempting me. It's the same reason I got tempted into Jai Newcomb. He's got great matchups for designated kick. He's got great matchups for designated kickers.
But he went back-to-back 80s though. Is it so much the fixture, or is it just 79-79? Are they tough matchups, GWS Port, for Des kickers?
I think they are. They were both not in Melbourne. Yeah. He's got a 122, 152, and 106 on the MCG. And they play 4 of their next 6 there. Two of them, one of them's this weekend against West Coast at Marvel, and the other one is against Gold Coast, who are the second best matchup for designated kickers last 10 Supercoach.
Awesome.
I'd go Clark ahead of... So I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I'm going Clark over Holmes, and I'll tell you why. I think Clark's a midfielder that doesn't get tagged in that sort of analogy, and I think Holmes is a key forward. Bang, and then tag.
Forwards. Jeez.
No, I'm just trying to use an analogy, a scoring analogy. So you get the really good, and then you get the really bad. Where as a Clark owner, it's just whatever. But he's the least stressful pick in the world. I mean, it's not great, but it's you don't care.
Was
you look
so bad on the weekend, but he still got to a 94. That's
look at Holmes. I'd be tearing my hair out the last 2 weeks of Holmes, but if you forget all about the 130 that he had 3 weeks ago. So I think Clark, I reckon, just on consistency. But it's a good question.
All right. Hi, lads. DR, I hope you're feeling better. DR is going to be watching this, so he's hopefully all good there. So, old mate from SCT, I haven't started upgrades here. I think a lot of coaches haven't. I think that we've been doing pseudo upgrades. We're trading out mid prices to get to premiums, not so much the rookies to the premiums. Stain put in not bringing in Dacos, Butters, Bont, or cheapies like Newcomb, Petrarca, Stewart. Am I too old school? Should I be more aggressive? I think that Petrarca is a perfectly fine trade in this week without tearing up your side to bring in the Dacos, Butters, Bont players. That may be the old school Supercoach mantra, but I still think that it is as valid today as it was a couple of years ago.
I think track. I think best of the list.
You reckon over the other boys? You were hating on track before.
Yeah, I know, but he's cheap, and I don't know if you're gonna pick him, you pick him now.
Jump on the nuke.
The nuke isn't a bad shout. Honestly,
I just don't know anything about the pick. Haven't studied it. I can't comment on him, but I'm sure it's fine.
Good. All right,
I like Rosie as well.
We haven't
Rosie,
spoke about Rosie, but he could be top 6 defender. He got tagged on the weekend by Jordan, still turned up.
yeah. He started well as well. The thing is now that it's really interesting. The reason why I brought in Horn Francis was because Rosie was going back. He should get more CBAs. Rosie finished the game in the midfield, 103 there. It's going to be really interesting to see what his role looks like moving forward because with Ryan Burden to come back into the team as well, like what does their defensive setup look like? Logan Evans isn't playing like they can't keep Logan Evans out of the side all year. Like it's going to be really interesting to see where Rosie actually lines up. If he does get that defensive DPP, though, he could almost be close to a must-have. We'll see how that goes. Barnaby. Hey, guys, I'm not sure which Premier trade in this week. I was thinking either Merritt, Rowell, or Newcomb. Who would you go out of those three? He already has Dacos. I wouldn't go Merritt this week. I think that he may still have some price to fall down. If you trust Rowell, that's the way I'd be going. But I know, Rossco, you're going to say Newcomb here, aren't you?
No, I still think I would probably prefer to have Rowell over Newcomb.
Fair play.
I think in terms of season-long upside, I think Rowell's a better selection at this stage. If you're chasing points for the next 4 or 5 weeks, like I maybe am, then Newcomb probably a better bet.
Yeah, fair enough. Spillsy, agree?
Yeah, even though I said Rowell never again after last year, I still think he's really improved his outside game and happy to swallow me pride. And yeah, I think Rowell's the best one of the lot there. If I'm honest.
Awesome. Krez, is it worth bringing in players like Rosie or players at the price range are low if you don't think they'll be top 8, mid, or def? See, this is the reason why I don't know whether bringing in Rosie right now is the best move, because if he just misses out on defensive DPP, given the fact that he went the first block of the DPP change without any defensive status. So now he's got to get up to that 35% marker, but he has less time to do so. So if he can't get that defensive marker by round 12 at the round 12 change, you're going to have a midfield that's averaging 100, which is okay. It's okay. But this is where I feel like I'd prefer to bring in a Petrarca around that price with the friendly schedule to come up. Oh, it's such a tough one. What do you boys think?
I think he's knocking on the door top 6, if I'm honest, in defense.
Off the defense, but he's got to get there. He's got to get there. Like, imagine he plays a full game in the midfield.
He will eventually.
Like, it's so dangerous.
It's going to happen.
But what if he's not playing defend? What if he's not playing in defense in 2 weeks because Hinkley's like, oh, he's got the form back now?
No,
well,
I
he's
think
really
they really
that
like
bad.
him.
Run him at M9.
You think he'll play defense the whole season?
Yeah, I think they really like him there.
Yeah,
played all his juniors there. He was allegedly drafted as a halfback. I mean, he could seriously. I think he's top 6, and if he doesn't work out to get DPP, I think he'd make a pretty good M8. And if you got luxury, have him at M9. But there's so much value just with the stinker tag scores we've seen from him.
508K. It is a good price. It is a good price.
Such a good price. I'm so
Rosie
glad
or
I held.
Petrarca this week?
Rosie.
Ross?
Yeah, Connor Rosie.
And I've owned him through the bad scores, boys.
Yeah.
I've been there for the best and worst, and I actually think he's one of
their worst. You don't deserve me at my best. That's still his mantra there. That is not the secret phrase, by the way. Sorry, just had to put that one out there. Better to get track or fix up one of the 3 on-field rookies in defense to Stewart. Oh, this is. I hate the Stewart pick. He just does not look good. he looks.
Yeah, stuff
He
Stewart.
looks
Grab
awful.
track,
A bit like
mate.
Sicily. Oh, but fix one of the 3 on-field rookies also doesn't sound good either.
Grab Bias or something.
But if Bias is probably one of them, and then what you have to field 2 of Reed, Trainer, Pryor. It's not the worst case.
Yeah,
if you've got
I
someone
still don't mind it.
I had Pryor on the bench on the weekend because I couldn't fit him on. I'd love to have more defender rookies. Better than fielding Kako at M8 for a 55 against West Coast.
Bring in track, mate, I think.
Trainer's gone back to back 80s. We know what Bias can do. We know what Reed can do. It's really not that bad.
Nah, it's fine. Grab Petrarca. Run with it. You'll be right.
All right. The next question is sent around Will Ashcroft. 523.5K. After scores of 104, 136, 130, 112, dropped to 43 out of nowhere. In terms of the CBAs, he still got 50% CBAs on the weekend, which is even probably the more surprising part is he got the CBAs, he just didn't score. So he got 46% on the weekend. Playing St Kilda, Gold Coast, North Melbourne, has a break even of 154 this week, 160 next week, and he could drop to 470k. So he could drop 55k. If you don't have Nick Dacos, I think Ashcroft to Dacos in one trade. Ashcroft has done the cash generating part. He's got that 80k there, and he's got you the points on field. I think that's a simple, just go up to Nick Dacos. If you can afford it, that should be priority number one. I think that you can hold him, but the dividends in terms of the cash generation is now gone if you hold him for another couple of weeks, because you have to consider what the role of Ashcroft in your starting side was. Was it to get you through to the buys? Was it to get you early on season points during best 18? Was it to make you cash? Once you can determine that, then you can figure out what you're going to do with Ashcroft this week. I'd probably trade, though, to get to Dacos if you don't have him. Spillsy?
Gosh, just laugh about this a little bit. Last potty, Will Ashcroft was in my trade plans, boys.
To bring in?
Man. Remember that? You talked me
a couple
out
of weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, last pod that we did, he was, I just can't, such a plot twist. He was looking on fire. Don't know. It gets your day
That's the problem, though. He's the fourth banana. When the Lions lose, they can't have 4 players going 100.
Yeah. I think trade. He's done his job, as you alluded to. So,
Rossco?
Yeah. I think, you got to try and maybe look at getting him up to someone uber premium. Dacos, as you say. But you got to pick the right one. Don't sideways it to another, maybe 480k. I think, I think from there, if you've got the cash, get him up.
And it's Ashcroft to Dunkley is 20k difference now. That's pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
But Dacos is the one. Brad Dorr can't reach Dacos with the boost, unfortunately. Now I'm getting FLYNN. Good. Best option to grab in each line, look for some discount on top of the line players. Or I can actually spend in defense and grab Whitfield. Thoughts? Holmes over Stewart.
Yep.
Rao probably over Dunkley and Petrarca. And so if we go Holmes, Rao, Petrarca, rank those 3 in order, boys.
Sort of already have, haven't we?
Yeah, we did, didn't we?
Tough.
We did it before.
Yeah, Holmes
I think any of those 3 would be a serviceable option.
Yeah.
I'd wait on Whitfield.
This is the week to bring Petrarca in. If there's no point waiting for him to score a 120. Because
if you get another 80 though.
Yeah, that's the thing where if he scores an 80, you're not going to bring him in. But if you're confident in bringing in Petrarca, this is the week to do it. That's the moral, because you're going to, if you want to bring him in, you want to get 2 really good, probably the 2 best fixtures of Petrarca season on. That's the sort of thing which I'm talking about.
I get it with the fixture. You want to wait for his break even to really bump down. I don't want track until it's he could score 90 and he'd jump up in price. I want him to really pump up a good score and then go, okay, we're going to get tracking now. He's going to go up 30k. Yeah. I kind of want to wait on him until that happens. I haven't seen enough.
It sort of depends on what kind of coach you are. You sort of the proactive coach where you sort of try to predict what's going to happen. And yes, it can backfire, but it's you get the benefit and the dividend if it does go right. Dacos last week, I wasn't the proactive coach. I was he's got a 120 break even. There's a chance that he doesn't even hit 120, but he's gone 171 and now he's out of reach. So it's that's the sort of thing that we want to be considering here. I guess with Petrarca, it's a bit of a difference where because he's low, sort of high 400s, he's not going to get out of reach. He's not going to score 200 and put on 50k and go up to 550. Even at 550, you can still bring him in. That's the sort of difference there. Ross, if you were Brad, who would you bring in out of those 3? Or out of those 5?
I think I'd probably go with Holmes. Just purely, I think, get another defensive rookie off. There's always plenty of opportunities to get in gun midfielders. And as you say, Petrarca's probably not going to fluctuate too much. And I think Holmes might even be, a bit down in price. So I'd probably go with Holmes.
Cool. All right, Will, what is the best rookie you're bringing that is not Carroll? Ross, you're saying it's Corey Durden?
Yeah, look, if you don't already have Matt Flynn, probably Corey Durden. But it's risky, very risky.
Very risky. Not for the faint-hearted. Callum, is a word to get in Dacos in for Will Ashcroft? Yes. So I think your trades then would be Trainer, Moraes, Ashcroft with Flynn, Carroll, and Dacos. I think that's a really good set of trades there, mate. Good work. Sammy,
Let's smash
glad
through
to see
these
you back
boys.
on the yes, gotta smash through them. Hope recovery continues to go well. Was wondering, is it worth using third boost? Cos, Clay Hall, Max Hall to Dacos, Flynn, Carroll. Yeah, I like it. I'd
that's
do
solid
those
as.
You're getting rookies off field and you're getting Dacos in and Flynn in. Both should make enough cash there.
Very similar midfield to me, that.
Matt, which trades would you prefer? Trainer, Davidson, Oliver out to Holmes, Flynn, Elijah Hewitt. Trainer, Davidson, Sam Powell, Pepper out to Holmes, Flynn, and Carroll. I don't know if the Oliver to Holmes thing is really going to
Oliver's got to go to Butters, I think, if you're going to trade him. Yeah. He's the one that if you want to pay out for a player, you get it done with Oliver. Otherwise, you just wait for his buy. I don't like the sideways. So much money on
Davidson. Even Davidson, he's probably got another 50K left in him. Like,
surely hold Davidson. His break even's been reset.
Yeah. He's if he goes 80, 80, 80 the next 3 weeks, yes, it may not go 80. Let's say 70. He's probably got another 50 to 60K left in him. Like,
yeah.
Whereas SPP is one you don't want to trade out either because he's got another bloody 100K left in him at this rate.
That's my boy.
He's going to the moon. That's our boy.
I'd like to do something else. I don't like the trade outs.
Trainer is... You could go Trainer to Flynn in one move.
Yeah, I don't mind that. It's pretty popular.
And then Hewitt is a luxury trade in, I feel. If you have someone else is ready to cull, like a Isaac Kako, for instance. Cool. Chris, here we go. Max Hall, Ashcroft, Trainer, Flynn, Dacos, Carroll, tick.
They're the same trade-ins. They're both exactly the same. Two is trading out. So
marriage.
No.
Number one, mate. Hold Marrick and Davidson.
So it's Ashcroft and Hall, or Davidson and Marriage?
Ashcroft.
Easily the first one.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Is Dakes a must-have this week, or is getting a fall and premium Flynn the go-to? So this would be Rosie and Flynn, or Dacos and Tunstall. Or I wouldn't do this trade. Tunstall early and not getting Flynn. I'd prefer the first set.
And trading Zach Reed. I don't like either of. I don't like Zach Reed out either.
No, I don't.
Yeah. Could you almost do O'Sullivan and Trainer to Rosie and Flynn, or do you have the money for that? I don't think so. I think he has to do Reed to get in Flynn and Rosie. But
that must leave the defensive line a bit thin, though, right?
Yeah, 3 defenders straight at here's the team. So he's getting rid of O'Sullivan, Trainer, and Reed, and he's bringing in no defenders. Oh, Carroll. Carroll has to go on field.
Bias is in the flex. There's Bias.
Right, gotcha. Bias. Sorry.
It's still thin. It's aggressive ads.
Or would you almost do just Trainer to Flynn and hold off on the other trades? Like,
surely you can sacrifice something else for Nick Dacos. I mean, do you have a Marrick or a Humphrey? Can we have a look at his team again real quick?
I just realized O'Sullivan's break-even's 85. That's nuts.
So
he could lose money this week.
If you get Dacos in over Rosie, more of a must-have in my opinion.
But it's the way that it's getting there. Like, he can't bring in Flynn.
No.
If you get Dacos. Oh, that's a tough one, mate. Honestly. Could you...
I'd almost get rid of... He's got
Marriage.
Oliver?
Would you get rid of Marriage ahead of Reed and get in Dacos and Flynn?
It's not worth getting rid of Marriage either. It's still got more money to be made.
Yeah, it does, but it's like Dacos will make money this week.
Yeah,
like if
and everyone's going to own
get
him.
in Dacos.
Marriage break even's pretty high, boys. It's not as low as you
54.
think.
Yeah. Oh,
I've got him, and
I'd
Marriage break
that
even.
way.
It's 54. So
yeah.
You'll probably go up another 10K.
But
it's not a big
I'm
deal.
not sure if he can actually do that because he won't have a forward to switch in. So he won't have a forward to go in to there, like another forward, unless you move Patton down. I think you had Patton, right? Yeah, you can move Patton down. That works.
Field power, Pepper.
Yeah. Belinda, who will score more for the rest of the season, Petrarca or Nick Martin? Oh my gosh.
I'm saying Nick. Sorry,
The
Janath.
pig.
No, I think Martin can do it. I think Martin can do it. Petrarca will probably have the better next 2 weeks. But yeah, for sure. Shah, g'day, legend. Legend has Nick as Lindsay's role changed in the last 2 weeks. Yes, it has. He was playing wing before getting injured. Now he's playing this sort of pseudo half-back role, but he's not actually a good defender. So it's a bit weird. He scored 755. These are the 2 weeks that you sort of have him for, though. Like, if he's going to regenerate his cash gen, it's going to be against Richmond and West Coast. Both at large grounds, MCG and Optus. So hopefully we get a bit of chip use off the wings if Lindsay goes back there. Just keep an eye out for that. Goat, would you use a fourth boost to get Nakos, Carroll, and Flynn in? Not sure who you're trading out, but like, boys, what are the premises under which you wouldn't do this trade? Like, who, if you're trading out who?
I'd do it. They come in handy, but this is it's almost a must trade, isn't it? If you're ever going to do it.
But if you're trading out Clayton Oliver, would you do it?
Possibly still, yes.
hard.
Yeah.
It'll be a lot clearer on Thursday night when the Carlton team's out.
I'm going to do a rolling trade.
Be out on Thursday night though.
Oh, it's a Friday.
Team, because we're playing Sunday.
Ah, okay.
Melbourne play Thursday. So we've got the Friday extended team cut down. Spillsy?
Oh, it's so hard. I'd almost do a rolling trade. I'd make the 2 trades and then wait on Carroll. That's what I'm going to do, I think.
The tough part is you almost have to lock yourself into... If you're bringing in Nakos for Oliver...
You need the money.
You go Oliver up, but you've got to downgrade someone to get Carroll in. But if you downgrade someone, you're going to be you might be stuck with the James Tunstall, which isn't the worst case, but at the same time, because he's got the DP, if he becomes a dead rookie, it's not the worst case, but it's like we saw with Tom Gross, like, oh, it's just so annoying. Yeah. It's so annoying having a rookie that gets subbed or something. Like, Luca, what are your thoughts on Stewart? Was planning to bring him in, but now I'm worried he might not be a top 8 defender. Also, who would you field at D8? I assume this has got to be D6. Pryor and Reed. I've somehow picked the wrong one 2 weeks in a row. All right, when we look at the matchup this week, playing Collingwood, I almost think about sort of what a matchup's going to be. So you'd imagine that someone like Zach Reed, he'll probably go to a Dan Max Day, that sort of thing. So as playing in that general defender role, Collingwood is over the last 10 games, there's 7th hardest matchups, the 12th easiest matchup. Whereas for Collingwood against wing defenders, is something like what Jackson Pryor's playing, they're the 4th easiest matchup. So off that data, I'd probably field Pryor over Reed. But at the same time, it's just a hard one because Spillsy, in a high pressure game, I've seen Jackson Pryor play a little bit. He doesn't play very well when there's pressure around him.
No, he's infamous seagull at times. So I think he's got a high ceiling. I don't know. I've been playing rookie roulette with these 2 all season. I can't get it right. So don't ask me.
Who are you going and pick the other one? Who will you field? Who will you field?
I'm leaning towards Pryor on the G.
So
more open.
Luca, what is it? Luca field, Zach Reed. That's what Spillsy's saying. But probably not do it. You're fielding Zach Reed?
Yes.
Well, that's the beauty of the best 23 in a way, or best 22, is that if you have Reed and he does score the 35, unless you get an injury, he's probably going to be that 23rd player. So, yeah. Aussie Dave, very simple question to change things up. Sweet or savory for your favorite snacks? For me, can't go past a packet of salt and vinegar chips. Roscoe?
I'm going to go with sweet. Mars bars, the best.
Oh, yes, Rossco. Bloody great minds think alike. You've taken the words straight out of me.
Are you that as well?
Yeah, I'm sweet and Mars bars. I'm one to have a cup of tea at the end of the night, sort of cool myself down, wind down a little bit. Yeah, I love having a good Mars bar with that. So,
That's awesome.
yeah, good stuff, Rossco.
That's awesome. I love a bit of sweet. Not the I don't mind the Mars bars, but my favorite is the Ben and Jerry's chocolate chip cookie dough. Can't go wrong.
that's
That
good.
stuff slaps. That slaps.
Good
Thank you,
areas.
Aussie mate. If Carroll is dropped, thoughts on veteran Oscar McDonald from Fremantle, 119k, one game, he scored a 50. Look, we talk about this as this cyclical nature where if you go a week early on a rookie, next week you're going to have to go early on another rookie because there's no other rookies to bring in next week. So I think if Carroll is dropped, you can pivot to someone else. Like, I don't know. I hate saying this, but even James Tunstall's the same thing.
I'd be more confident on Tunstall, though.
Yeah,
surely.
you'd have to at least take Tunstall over Omac.
You might have to take
100%.
Tunstall this week and then Oscar McDonald next week. Like, it's not ideal. For sure not. Shane, Janath, you're a Carlton man. Carroll's job security. Well, I thought it was really good, and I still think it's really good. But Lockie Cowan coming back in, someone has to go out for him. And so when you look at the side that we put out on the weekend, I'm just going to bring up from who is listed. Oh, just give me a second.
Carlton's too afraid to drop the old blokes.
Well, they're playing better now. Jack Silvani won't get dropped. He's playing really well. Weathering obviously won't get dropped. Nick Haynes has looked better. Sard is a lock. Mitch McGovern arguably should have been dropped a couple of weeks ago, but if you don't drop him then, you're not dropping him now. Then Ollie Hollins. Ollie Hollins was that 6th defender named on field, and then Matt Carroll was named on the interchange. So we had those 7 defenders. Unless Hollins is dropped, Carroll is probably the one to make way for Cowan. And with that being said, I don't think that we can bring him in, really, if Cowan is named. But we're not going to know with the extended interchange until Friday at 5 o'clock. Australia, Eastern Standard Time. Ross, what do you think?
Does Cowan walk back into the side, though?
He does. He's
Really?
a lockdown defender. He is. He was meant to be our most improved player this year. Yes, he does hack kick the ball a little bit. But look, Ollie Hollins had 14 touches on the weekend.
He's a spun.
Where is it? What is it? Matt Carroll had 14 as well. 11 kicks compared to Ollie's 7. Oh, the time on ground, Ollie had 88%. Carroll had 77%. It's a tough one. It's a real tough one. I haven't really been impressed with Ollie as a defender. I prefer him on the wing. But then there's those structural moves that would have to be made. Brian, thoughts on holding Trainer? I don't mind it. Richmond have a really friendly fixture in the next couple of weeks. When we think about that, like I was saying with Melbourne, Richmond have Melbourne, Hawthorn, West Coast, and then North Melbourne. Even Essendon in that mix. But the thing is with Trainer is he's going to have a break even of 74 this week. If he scores 56, he'll have a break even of 93 next week. And he would have lost 30K, 25, 30K by then. And then you have to rebuild that cash gen in the middle of upgrade season. It's not ideal, but can be done. Ross, what would you do?
What if he meets his break even? He scored 80s. If he meets his break even, what's his break even then next week?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's the thing. I think the only reason he was actually the sub, he's not a sub risk. He was only the sub because they wanted to manage him.
6-day break, yeah.
It would have been better if they'd actually just dropped him for a week.
I think his break even will be 69 if he scores an 80.
So if he goes 80, there's no reason to say he can't go 80 again.
Yeah. Nah, I mean, it's fair enough, but it's like you're holding him for another 2 weeks at least. Because if Trainer's the only way you can get to Flynn, like for me, in one trade, Trainer's the only way I can get to Flynn.
Yep.
Like, that's what I'd be doing. But, yeah, I guess that's another possibility there. Hugo, got all 3 of Gawn, TDK, Cherry. Can't get Flynn as R3. Can I see it as a miss if I don't get him, but a big investment to sit on the bench? The big ballsy move here will be to trade out TDK, preempting Pidnet coming back in, but I wouldn't do it. I guess the next question as well is, can you bring in Flynn as an R3?
Yeah, well, you can. The game does allow you to do it.
The thing, what I think is sort of alluded, if you've got Archer Reed with that DPP swing, what I would almost look to do is Trainer out, Flynn to the ruck, Archer Reed to the forward, Ben Patton into defense. That sort of maneuver. Because Flynn can still make money And if for whatever reason you do have to get rid of TDK, Cherry, or Gorn in the coming weeks, you're laughing because you'll have Flynn at R3, at the flex, sorry, which is really, really handy. But if you don't have Archer Reed and you have to trade Harry Boyd or whoever to get to Flynn and then trade out Flynn, bringing back in Harry Boyd, it's just not ideal in that way. So, yeah, it probably depends on who you currently have R3 there, Ugo. Timmy, is it wise to have Flynn at flex and Cherry and TDK at R1 and 2? Definitely. That's
Very
what I
wise.
think a lot of coaches will be doing. Yeah. Arrow Axe. Hey, lads, loving the content. Hope you had a wonderful Easter. You too, mate. A king share of footy and chockies over the weekend. Love to hear it. Playing around with 2 trade options. The boost gets rid of Henderson, Banks 93k. So it's Trainer, Saligo, Henderson to Flynn, Dacos, Carroll. I think you lock it in.
I like the moves.
Almost. Yeah. Or Trainer and Davidson to Carroll and Dacos.
No, I like the first one better because
Flynn.
I wouldn't be moving Davidson.
Yeah.
And I don't like going without Flynn.
Yeah. Spillsy, do you agree?
Yeah, I think Saligo, bit of a liability as a pod there. It could really hurt you if you drop scores like that. So I'd correct it. I'd fix that up.
All right, boys, let's just quickly go through these last
couple. Have we got, how many more? We got Janath.
I reckon we got about 7. We're almost there. If you can afford the bond, should you just get him or wait till his price drops? I think it's up to the type of coach you are. Mm-hmm. I personally, he's going to drop 100 at some point, and that will allow most of the comp to get on him. If you go now, you're almost banking on him having to score 140s, 130s to keep up this price and make him unattainable. It's a really tough one. And there's almost a bit of uncertainty now with Sam Darcy going down. No Jamara Ugelhagen, who's going to be playing as that sort of second key forward, third key forward. Will it be partly Bond for part of the game? Not sure. Ross, what would you do?
Look, the Bond admittedly does have quite a high floor. Like, it's not the worst idea, but at the same time, there could also be better presenting value elsewhere. So that's a real 50-50 depending on what you want to do. But if you bring the Bond in now, unless he gets injured, you can't get rid of him.
Spillsy?
I'm holding off. I think if the rookies are a bit better, there's just not enough reliability of value, and I think we need to capitalize. I think Bond's a great pick, but something's got to give in the rest of the side. I just think a little bit of vulnerability down the track. I'm waiting. It's going to hurt, but I'm going to wait for a bit more of a reasonable price and ideally get Oliver to him. That's the main. I think you can't get better than that, I think, in terms of like for like.
Yeah.
So
Dipper, would you bring in Elijah Heard if you don't have him? Yeah, I don't mind it. I know we were saying before that Corey Durden's probably the best rookie to trade in after Matt Carroll, but I think Elijah Hewitt actually is. Sorry, we just forgot Hewitt because he's been a rookie. He was on the bubble. He's now off the bubble. He's just an elevated price, but yeah, he's got a great role in there. So yeah, don't mind
still
it.
180k.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all.
He hasn't got away from you.
Is Dacos a must-have? I'd have to trade Short, Jaden Short to get him. Oh yeah, I'd trade Jaden Short.
Yeah, easy.
Which two of these guys should I hold and why? Nevitt, Moraes, Clay Hall. Honestly, all 3 of them are pretty scrubby. Clay Hall is a good loop. Like I kept Clay Hall last week over Mitch Nevitt because like even if Hall doesn't get back into the side, at least he has a good loop in fixture. Moraes will play. He's been named on field every game and he makes money. He's got a good fixture against North this week at Adelaide Oval. So for that reason, I would hold him. I think Mitch Nevitt's the one to go. He just doesn't look like the preseason Nevitt. He's not getting the midfield minutes. Like with regards to CBAs, he had 44% CBAs yesterday. Like it's not great. So yeah, I feel confident trading out Nevitt. What would you boys do?
No, I agree.
Clay Hall didn't play, did he?
No, he didn't, but he can be used as a loop. Like they have a good fixture, loop and fixture. If you don't have other dead rookies, like that's why I kept him.
Yeah.
I think it's between Nevitt and Hall, depending on if you've got looping players already or not.
Still got negative break even too, because he popped 87, so he just needs to return. So I assume you might have a Gross as well. So I think Nevitt is easily the most tradable out of the lot.
All right, Damien, what's to say Flynn doesn't get dropped in a week's time? Feels very trappy. I guess that's the risk that we're taking, because some of these players aren't home run picks. They have red flags, and Flynn has big red flags. But thoughts on Cozzy? Cozzy is one of those players where he's an enigma. He's a Supercoach enigma. He can score that 130 and follow up with a 50. And so if you're looking at him as a cash generating option, he's too unpredictable for that. But if you're looking at points on field with friendly matchups with Richmond and West Coast in the next 2 weeks, then yeah, probably you could say that. I personally won't go Cozzy, but I think Flynn is a good enough trade option for this week. Boys?
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah?
No Cozzy.
All right, almost there. Do you think track is a must-have? Tempted to double downgrade Flynn/Carroll and save the cash and boost for a bigger fish next week. Cheers, lads. Bigger fish? Yeah, you could probably do it. As we were talking about this throughout the potty, Petrarch is a player that if you feel confident on him, I'd bring him in this week. But if you don't, you can just give it one more week to see how he goes against Richmond Thursday night, bright lights, and go from there.
Yeah.
Spillsy?
No,
Rossco?
I agree. I'm absolutely with you, mate. Yeah.
Cool. 2 more. Mikhail. Hey, lads. Hope all is well. Who to bring in between track, Flynn, or Stewart? Flynn, track, then Stewart.
Done.
Yeah, that order.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, last one. Hey, lads. Is it too late for Ned Long? I don't think it's too late, but
Last
it depends
week.
who you're trading out.
Last week.
Yeah.
Ship sailed next week.
He's a good player, that's for sure. He adds a bit of edge to that Collingwood midfield. I remember, Rossco, do you remember back after that round 1 game after the round 1 game, we were sort of talking about, do you bring him in? Do you know he was 200K and he was the sub?
Yeah.
But I was like, he's definitely going to get subbed on early here. And wouldn't you know it, I forgot who it was, but someone got injured and he got subbed on early, only scored the 57, but he's gone above 96 now, 96, 114, and 113. And the other games has been sub-affected, all 3 of them. So
yeah.
He's a points per minute machine. All right, boys. That brings us to the end of the mailbag there. Thank you, everyone, for bringing up your questions. We're just going to finish up now by talking about our trades. I'll just go through DR's ones very quickly. Wow. Clay Hall, Luke Trainer, Christian Moraes to Dacos, Carroll, and Flynn. He's robbed a bank.
Hadn't he?
This is otherworldly from DR here. Easiest tick off I've ever seen there. I've gone Trainer to Flynn in the one trade, means bypassing day costs. But yeah, we're just going to see about that. I just don't want to trade out any of the mid prices and not get rookies off the field, sort of thing. So the rookies I have on field are Bice, one of Reed or Patton, Levi Ashcroft, Murphy Reed, Sam Davidson, Sam Powell-Pepper, and Matt Flynn, I guess. So they're good rookies on field. So that's why I'm happy to sort of hold off on breaking the team apart to bring in Dacos. But yeah. What about you, Rossco? You've gone Flynn from Bailey Humphrey in the one trade?
Yeah. Do you still own Humphrey?
No, I traded him out last week. I got in the Hornets.
Okay, of course, yeah. I was going to say, what is he
That's
still
lucky
doing?
against Richmond. I wouldn't have been that brave, but it worked out really
mate,
well for you.
I got rid of Nevitt and Humphrey last week. Just had to bite the bullet there because Hornet had 39 break even, and with Rosie going back, he wasn't going to get any cheaper. So went that way.
I think this is probably just going to be the one that I'm going to settle on with the doubts over Carroll's job security and with no one else really standing up as a rookie. I probably would have wanted to go double down, but I don't think it's worth moving them on. I prefer to keep, Trainer Reed Bice for another week and just sort of see how they go. And all of the top options, like I could probably jump into a Petrarca or I could jump into a whatever. But I can't get to a day cost. I can't, get there without moving, a boosting even, Like if I could do Humphrey down to Flynn and Clary up to day cost, I'd do it. But I'm still short, I could probably get Humphrey and someone to Dacos and Matt Carroll, but then I miss Flynn. So I don't really know. I just have to weigh that up a bit. But I think Flynn's the one that I really want. And then next week, I'm probably going to go without Dacos. I might regret it, but
It's going to be a bit of behind the couch watching, I reckon, here, boys.
Yeah,
And
but it'll give me a bit of cash to play with next week.
Yeah, unlike you boys, I'm looking at bringing him in and slapping the VC on him. And I was meant to do it last week, but happy that I saved my money last week because the rookie is just a bit thin, and I think it was the hardest watch ever, but I still think it was the right decision. So this week we'll be trading out Humphrey, Clay Hall for Dacos and Flynn. That is inevitable. That's going to happen. But boys, I can hold off on Trainer to Carroll. I don't need to boost this. I've got 37K in the bank if I keep Trainer in the team over Carroll.
Almost, if Carroll's not named, that is the perfect trade.
Well, it's a rolling lockout.
To Dacos and Flynn is perfect.
It's just a bit hard because Trainer plays the first game, so I don't know where I'm at with it.
What I will say is if Cowan's named on field on Thursday night, Carroll will either be the sub or dropped. I don't see a world where you can play Carroll, Hollands, and Cowan. That's 8 defenders. Yeah,
you've been losing.
I want to miss him.
What's that?
I kind of want to miss out on Carroll, to be honest. No DPP.
That's the thing.
I don't need him.
Stuck with Carroll.
I actually don't.
You're going to have
I don't need him.
D8 unless there's another injury. Yeah.
People trading Carroll so they can upgrade, which is absolutely fair enough. But I don't actually need him. I can skip him and keep Trainer and still do these trades. So, that's sort of where I'm looking at. I'm not quite sure, but if I do that and keep Trainer, I've still got 4 boots in the bank.
Yeah, so awesome.
Could really help us out later on the season. So I just don't think it's a week for me where I really need to boost. But I'm probably leaning towards holding a Trainer type. But we'll see what happens. Pretty happy with these trades. Dacos and Flynn are must-haves for me, that's they will not change.
It's going to be very interesting for a lot of coaches if Carroll isn't named, who's the pivot? Because there isn't that 120K rookie standing out. You've either got to go Carroll at 99K, go early on a Tunstall at the 118 marker, or go up to Elijah Hewitt at the 190 marker. It's a really tough week to pivot away from a Carroll if he isn't named.
I kind of hope he's not named, just for a bit of a...
you're devious.
It would really screw over a lot of sides that had they need catch gen, but it doesn't screw me up because I can still do my trades.
Look at him. Look at him.
Hopefully gets dropped, boys.
That's very naughty. That's very naughty.
I know, cheeky as.
But look, lads, that brings us to the end of a monster round 7 episode of the Supercoach Swordplay podcast. As we mentioned, a couple of housekeeping things. If you haven't already, make sure to go check out the supercoachswordplay.com website. Get your hands on one of those beautiful rugby jumpers that Spills is donning at the moment. If you haven't joined the Supercoach Hub Discord, make sure to do so. And we've said the magic word, I will say a couple of times in this episode. So go out there, put it into the chat over there, and you could be $50 richer tonight. And also, if you haven't signed up to Game Day Squad as of yet, make sure to go over there, redeem $20 worth of packs as soon as you sign up. Boys, do we have anything you guys want to finish off on for this week?
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
Big. This the lowest rank that you boys will be this year. I have no doubt.
Yes.
I said that 3 weeks ago. I've dropped twice, so I'm going to stop running with that. But I guess the last thing very unlucky, but look, I guess the last thing I'll touch on is, cannot wait for the great man to join us again. If he can next week. It's been a very tough time without him, and we're all thinking of him. So our hearts go out to DR, and it's just not the same on the podcast without him. I think we can all agree on that one.
We need DR. That's sort of our spiritual leader in a way. But no, I know the great man is going to be watching this. And hopefully we've done him justice and made him proud tonight. So, boys, I guess we'll leave it at that. Hopefully everyone has a great week. If you're going to be a Nick Dacos non-owner like myself and possibly Rossco on Friday, I hope that you have a thick enough couch to hide behind because we might need it. But yeah, hopefully you guys all have a great Anzac weekend. And we will see you guys next week for the round 8 episode of the Supercoach Swordplay podcast. Cheers.
Good stuff, boys.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
See ya.